So guys, cold emails for me have been absolutely instrumental in order for me to scale my agency past that 6-figure mark, per year, past that 10K per mark, past that, 12K per mark. Now we're actually just on the 15K per mark with the agency right now at the time of recording this. That being said, that's going to increase as time goes on because we are actually getting better and better and better at cold emails. I'm absolutely loving it. So I want to give back to you guys and actually go through a video just breaking down a couple of tips. I've got around 10 tips here on my sheet, or should I say on my computer, if you will, lined out for you guys so you can actually go about getting started with cold emails and actually landing clients with cold emails. So these are just a few tips that you can actually go around and kind of overall use to actually get you started with cold emails. Number one, you want to make sure that you've got a burner domain. So an internal domain and a burner domain are two different things. A domain, for example, is montelgordon.com. That would be a domain. That would be my internal domain. I wouldn't want to send cold emails out on montelgordon.com. Or let's say, for agency's sake, let's say your agency is called MCG agency, like my actual agency my actual agency name is. So I've actually got the domain mcg-agency.co. I do not send cold emails on that particular domain. I actually bought a second domain for £12, I believe it is. That's £1 per month. I believe over there in the US it's actually $12. So that's actually even cheaper because of the conversion rates and stuff like that. So what you want to do is you want to buy a second domain if you already have an agency website. So if you've got an agency website and it's called, abcmedia.com, then what you would do is go and buy abcmedia.net. The ending's different, if you will. The .com's changed to a .net. So you actually want to go and buy a second domain. The reason why you want to buy a second domain, and again, I teach this in agency transmutation, is because, and this is very important, because if you don't listen to me, this is literally why I explain to people, go and find somebody who's successful and copy what they're doing, or either just buy the roadmap off them. Because what's going to happen is you're going to do what I did. I actually went and burned out my main domain. Now I have to change my entire website and buy a whole new domain and move everything over to ClickFunnels, for example, from my website to ClickFunnels with a different domain. The reason why is because I went and used mcg-agency.co as my actual cold outreach domain and I burned it out. You actually want to go and get a burner domain. An internal domain is where your website lives and you communicate with internal clients that you already have and that are actually already part of your agency, that are your actual genuine clients who are already paying you money. And then a burner domain is the ones that is the domain that you use to reach out to people. Now you actually want to make sure that you've got a professional domain in the first place. That's what you call a burner domain. For example, montel at abc-media.net, for example. If my agency name was, abc-media.com, I would use abc-media.net for my actual outreach. Again, people look at me backwards when I say this. Yes, you want to buy two domains. I don't know why people are like, what, two domains? Why would I do that? Like, what's the point in that? The point is, if you actually send cold emails through your main primary internal domain, your main professional one where your website lives, you're eventually going to burn out that domain. It's inevitable. You will burn it out. I don't care if you're only sending 10 emails a day. What's going to happen is you're going to burn out that domain. And eventually what you're going to have to do is move your website from your main domain to a different domain and move all your website and stuff like that over to that domain. It's a headache. You don't want to do that. It takes too long. So instead, just go and buy a burner domain to actually send out, cold emails. So that's point number one. And obviously you want to get a Google Workspace. By the way, you want to buy your domains from Google Domains. Buy them from Google Domains because your SPF records and stuff like that are set up. Which leads me on to point number two. Point number two is make sure that you've got your DKIM record and your DMARC record all set up. If you don't know how to do this, you want to make sure that you just literally Google how to set up a DKIM record on a Google domain. How to set up a DMARC record on a Google domain. Literally Google it, follow the tutorials on YouTube, and you will figure this stuff out. Now, the reason why I'm telling you to do this is because you need to make sure that you've got maximum deliverability. Again, I go into this heavily inside the agency transmutation in week 4. It's all about cold email mastery. So I actually go into this heavily. So you want to make sure that you've got your DMARC record set up and your DKIM record set up. The reason for this is because it's going to help you land in the recipient's actual inbox, if you will. So what that basically means is, this is where your open rate comes from, if you will. So I've actually already broken down videos on this, but basically this is how you get your actual emails delivered into people's actual inboxes, because these records basically show and prove, with like a certificate, if you will, that you are a real person. You're not just a spoofing email or a phishing email, if you will. It actually shows that you're an actual real person using a real domain, and you want to make sure that you've got these records set up for maximum deliverability so you can get maximum open rate. Because again, if your emails aren't even getting delivered, people aren't even going to open them. So it doesn't even matter what your open rate is. If your deliverability is completely trash, you're not going to get those opens, if you will. And if you don't get opens, you're not going to get responses. If you don't get responses, you're not going to get on calls. If you don't get on calls, you're not going to close clients. As you can see, this is literally the top of the pyramid, if you will. This is the very first thing you need to sort out, your records. That leads me on to, I guess, point number 3 is make sure on Lemlist, if you're going to be using Lemlist, which I do recommend you use Lemlist, make sure that you've got your custom tracking domain set up on Lemlist. In the settings section on Lemlist, I've shown you this on another tutorial in my on my channel. Go back and just take a look on how to set up Lemlist. I've got that already set up for you guys. That video I actually created for you guys, so you can actually go set up Lemlist. What you want to make sure you do is that you've got your own custom domain tracking kind of like set up in Lemlist. Now the reason why you want to do this is because Lemlist kind of sends its own, when by default you'll be using kind of like Lemlist's own servers. I actually believe it is. I believe that's actually the correct terminology for it is their actual servers. So when you send it, when you connect your G Suite email, for example, your burner domain to your Lemlist account, and you start sending out emails, it will actually be sending from a different server other than Google server. I believe that's the case. And the reason for that is because obviously you're using their tool to send out automated emails. So whenever you're not out, when you're obviously not logged into Lemlist, it will still automatically send emails. And in order for it to do that, I believe it has to store that data on its own kind of like server, if you will. Don't quote me on this, I'm not a real nerd on this sort of stuff, but all I know is that you want to make sure that you've got your own Lemlist custom tracking domain kind of like sorted out. It's very easy to do. Lemlist has their own tutorial on this. So when you connect your own domain, your sender's domain, if you will, your burner domain is what we'll call it, into Lemlist, it will say you want to make sure that you've got your custom tracking domain set up, and you must do that, because if you don't, what's going to be happening is you're going to actually be sending your cold emails from Lemlist's own server, or whatever it's actually called. I believe it's actually called a server, like I said. And what's going to happen if you do that is your email is going to be burnt out extremely quickly, because everybody who doesn't know how to send emails and stuff like that signs up for Lemlist, and everybody automatically gets put on this same server. So that one server has a reputation, and if the reputation is bad, by default you're going to be using that bad reputation, bad sender's reputation, if you will, and you're actually going to be grouped in with all those other people that don't know how to send cold emails because they didn't watch these videos here. What's going to happen is your email is going to actually be, become blacklisted, and it's going to be burnt out. Now, talking about burning out, let's go to point number 4. Point number 4 is that you want to make sure that you warm up your email domains, your burner domains, before you actually start sending. Over 50 emails a day, that would be. So if you're going to send like below, I'd say like 20 emails, you can kind of get away with 20. When you buy a domain, an actual professional Google Workspace burner domain, that's actually a professional domain, such as like Montel at abc-media.net. Again, the .net is different to the .com. The .com would be my website. The burner would be the .net, if you will. So if I'm sending emails off of the .net, for example, you want to warm that one up. But when you buy that, apparently I've heard that you can actually send up to like 1,000 emails a day. I don't know how accurate that is, but I realistically stick within what's humanly possible to send per day, for example. So let's say you are sending emails, I actually work out like what's actually humanly possible, and I basically stick to that number. So for example, if it's only 75 emails a day that an average human can kind of like send out a day, I stick to around 75 emails a day at the absolute max, by the way, and that's my actual global limit on Lemlist. That's a little tip for you right there. And what I do, guys, is you want to make sure that you warm up your email address using Lemlist inbuilt feature, which is called Lemwarm. What you do is you want to set it at like to ramp up like 3 emails a day. So when you actually sign up to Lemlist, there's a feature called Lemwarm on the left hand side, which is kind of like in the top left, if you will. Then what you want to do is you want to go to Lemwarm and then actually press start on Lemwarm and ramp it up by 3 emails a day. So on day 1 it will send like 1 email, for example. On day 2 it will send 4 emails, so it's ramped up by 3. Day 3 it will send 7 emails. Day 4 it will send 10 emails, and then 13, and then it will just keep going up and up and up and up. And then what I do is I leave it at around 25 emails being sent on Lemlist indefinitely. I leave Lemwarm on indefinitely. So I always have Lemwarm turned on my burner domain to just send 25 emails a day. It stops at 25 and it continuously sends out 25 every single day forever, basically. And the reason for that is because it's going to keep your domain warm when you're actually sending out cold emails, because people might not respond back to you, or they might mark you as spam, and that can kind of like, give you a negative hit. But then the Lemwarm stuff will give you a positive hit, 25 positive hits a day. So it's like you're taking a couple of negative hits on your sender's reputation, if you will, but you're also getting positive hits back in, because you're actually getting Lemwarm's actually doing its conversation thing that it does to help to send out those cold emails, keep your email warm as well. So that keeps your email warm, by the way. So point number 5 as well is when you're sending out emails, I shouldn't even have to say this, but this is so basic, guys, but I'm still seeing this problem prevalent, if you will, in the SMMA niche, is that you always want to triple check. I actually don't even double check, I triple check the domains that I'm sending emails to. So what I do is I verify the domain actually in Google Sheets, because you can actually hover over. I've already shown you this trick. Again, this is one of the tricks that I show you in industry annotation as well. But in the actual Google Sheet, when you've got emails kind of like lined out in like a column, you can actually hover over, and if all 4 of the icons pop up, you guys probably know what I'm talking about if you watched any of my other tutorials on like lead source and prospecting and whatnot. I guess especially when I'm doing the reverse prospecting approach, which basically speeds up your whole lead sourcing and prospecting like 10 times faster than what all the other gurus are talking about, because they're literally still doing the algorithm hop from Instagram page to Instagram page to find e-com brands. But anyway, long story short, guys, the reverse market approach basically shows you that when you hover over an email address, a box pops up inside of Google Sheets. Then what you can do is you can see the little icons on the bottom right, if you will, and if all 4 of those are lit up, that basically means that's a verified email. So that's one check. Then you can use something like verifyemailadress.org, I believe it's actually called, yeah, verifyemailadress.org. That's the second check. And then obviously never bounce is the third check. So that's what you call a free verification process, and that's what I teach inside industry annotation, and that makes sure that your bounce rate is kept at the very, very minimal, because what's going to happen is that's going to actually have a negative effect on your sender's reputation, and actually can lead you to get blacklisted as well. So number 6 is you want to make sure that you want to keep your scripts, when you're actually sending out scripts, by the way, sending out your actual emails, by the way, first of all, they want to be personalized. And personalization is not this saying, hey John, I came across your business on Google and saw that you was the CEO. That is not a personalized first line. A personalized first line would be like this. Hey Montel, just watched your video on how to get started with cold emails. I really love the point number 2, which you mentioned about the DKIM records. DKIM records, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. I really think that this is going to help a lot of people scale their agencies, because it's going to help them with their deliverability. Keep going with the YouTube channel. That is what you call a personalized first line. It's much more in depth, much more tailored to me, and it's very specific. For example, they've said that they've watched my video. They actually pulled out a specific point I made about a specific thing, which is DKIM record, and they congratulated me on the YouTube and said it's going to help a lot of people, and they can they want to keep up the work and stuff like that. That's just an example, but as you can see, it's very, very different, because the personalization I used before, which was like, hey John, came across your business on Google, seen that you was the CEO. All you would need to change in that is the person's name, literally the person's name and the position. So John and CEO. And that could be sent to literally anybody on earth. Hey Elon Musk, came across your business on Google and saw that you was the CEO of Tesla. There you go. It literally, you're only changing 3 different things there. Whereas if you said, hey Elon Musk, I would recently watch your interview with so-and-so. I really love the point you made about SpaceX becoming this thing and doing that thing. That would be much more specific. Yes, it takes time. That's why I recommend using the hybrid system, guys. This is literally why I'm going crazy. It's like I keep mentioning it over and over and over again. Because if you do this yourself, you're just going to burn out. But it needs to be done. So there's no way around it unless you use the hybrid system. That is literally the key to SMMA. Stacking up small ticket clients, getting that cash flow in, and then hiring a virtual assistant to do this for you consistently every single day, so that you can actually land meetings consistently and actually close clients consistently as well, which is why we're actually scaling month on. We've hit that 27K per month mark with our business combined. Now, point 6 was, again, keep your scripts short and snappy. So you want to make sure that they're readable within 15 seconds or less, I would say. You want to make sure that because what a lot of people are doing is they're overestimating the amount of time they think people have to read their emails. These e-com brands, for example, if you're emailing e-com brands, they literally get bombarded with emails every single day about the same service by the same people, if you will, offering the same service with the same agency, using the same scripts. So what you're going to do is you want to stand out, keep yours very short and snappy, very informal, straight to the point, if you will. And you also, point number 7, is that you don't want to have links in your initial email. As soon as I see, for example, in my inbox an email, I open it and it actually makes me open it because it's got a good subject line. If I open it up and I see that there's a link in there, automatically I categorize that as a sales email and I skip it. But if there's no actual link in there, I don't know what it is, but it's like I'm more open to hearing and actually reading the full thing. So most of the time, here's what the person's gonna do. They're gonna see an email that's kind of has a decent subject line. They open it up, they scroll through, and normally what they do is just look at the bottom. Like, this is literally just scan over it. They don't even really read it, just scan over it. And then what they do is if they see a link, they will automatically just go back and just kind of put that in the trash, if you will, mark it as spam. Whereas if you don't have links in there, that doesn't really happen, because it's like you've got an actual personalized first line there, and it's actually saying something about them. It's very specific about them, and then it kind of like sparks their attention, if you will. So no links in your initial email. Then that leads me on to point number 8. You want to make sure that you have at least 4 to 5 touch points with your prospects, if you will. So if you're going to send an email to one business, like to one company, don't just send one email. You want to send at least a couple of follow-ups with that. So I recommend at least a 4 to 5 sequence kind of like workflow, if you will, or email flow, if you will, where, you know, Lemlist has got this already automated for you. So if people don't actually send you a message back within 2 days or whatever it is, then what you can do is actually send another email, and if they don't reply to that one, 3 days later they get another email sent up, and these are already pre-built out. And again, this is something exactly what I teach in agency reputation, on how to actually set up this actual system and have it like churning out for you all automatically, so you can actually land meetings consistently. So guys, point number 9 is making sure that you have templated responses ready. This is something that I've not actually met, I've never actually heard a quote unquote guru actually say this, but what's going to happen with cold emails, by the law of kind of like, I wouldn't even say it's by law, it's just human nature, if you will. Human nature law is just what you call the knee-jerk reaction. So what I actually have is a special thing, kind of like I created it. It's called, these templates are basically called your knee-jerk reaction replies. Because what's going to happen is, and I watched a funny video the other day, I don't know who it was by, but there's like this viral guy on YouTube, and he literally was trying to give away like actual real cars to real random students on campus. So he was walking up to these random students, and they had like, you know, headphones in, they're going to class and stuff like that, and he walked over to them and he just wanted to like he genuinely wanted to give away a car, and they literally were saying no. He was literally trying to give them a car, paid off everything, taxes paid off, he actually gave them an extra $1,000 as well, so that they could, you know, pay for the fuel and stuff like that, and he also insured them for 6 months on the car, and they still said no. So as you can see, there's people out there that just literally have what you call a knee-jerk reaction. It's because people are just so skeptical these days of each other. I guess the human society is kind of like messed up, if you will. So people are just so skeptical about everything people say, that they just have this negative connotation. It's a negative approach to everything positive that actually comes their way. They don't believe they deserve it. They're skeptical, that sort of stuff. And I actually watched a video and I was like, that's actually crazy, because that's what's happening with a lot of these with these agency owners that I'm seeing that's coming from my programs, and I'm helping one-to-one, and even me, for example, I'm reaching out to these businesses, and we know we can genuinely help them scale, and we're actually saying this, and we're even offering a guarantee. If it does not work, we'll give you your money back. But it's because they've been so burnt in the past and so kind of like just messed up by other agencies, over promising and under delivering, is that they've just basically just become, I guess, just immune to like anything positive at this point. They don't even care. They're just so super skeptical about it. So what I'm kind of breaking down here is that what you want to do is you want to have templates ready for these responses, because you're definitely going to get responses such as, I'm not interested, take me off your list, already working with an agency. Those are probably going to be the most free common responses you're going to get, or even just F off, for example. So what you want to do is you want to have a response already in place that actually genuinely works, and I call these knee-jerk reaction replies. So you've actually got these saved somewhere on your computer, like in Evernote, and when you get one of these knee-jerk reaction replies, if you will, responses, you can actually reply back with a rebuttal that actually works, and then, you know, carries on the conversation. Because if everybody, for example, most people are going to say no. In fact, I read a story one time where there was a dude, I forgot who it was. It's probably one of the most famous entrepreneurs that I think it was like Grant, was it not? I don't think it was Grant Cardone, someone on the lines of that. But they literally said in their book that their wife, the person that they're with now, their actual wife, when they first approached, she said no. She said no over like 100 times or something like that. It's a little bit pestery, but he literally tried to get her for like 4 or 5 years, maybe even 10 years or something like that. And he finally got the woman of his dreams and married her and whatnot, and now they're married together. So the first no, I'm not saying just go and pester women, of course, I'm not saying that at all, or like chase women or be like very harassing or anything like that. I'm just saying that like your first rejection shouldn't just be like, oh, okay, I'll just move on to the next one. It should be more kind of like you handle the rebuttal, if you will, and you understand why they're saying no. Like have a bit more of understanding, if you will, and kind of have like a response in place to actually help you with that. It's a great little tip for you there. And number 10 is make sure that you only have one singular clear call to action. I see that a lot of people are actually trying to do so many different call to actions, doing this thing and that thing, and it's just not working for them. Have one clear call to action, no links, and a very clean subject line. Make sure, by the way, as well, that you have like a nice profile picture set on your actual domain inside of Google. Make sure you have your address set and your phone number. It shows Google that you're real as well. So those are just, I guess, 10 tips, maybe even 11 tips. That last one was 11 tips that you can actually use to actually get started with cold emails. If you want help with this, please drop me a DM on Instagram, or even just book in a call with me so we can speak about it one-to-one and actually help you one-to-one. And if you don't get clients, I'll literally give you a full money back guarantee, literally. I know, again, I just used that same line, like literally. I know that you're skeptical about all this stuff, but literally I've never had to give a refund, not even once, not even a single refund. That being said, guys, if you want help with age traumatization as well, or you want to learn more about that, click below, because again, that's a brand new 6-week program that can actually help you scale from 0 to 10K. And that being said, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.